Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how to paint this landscape. Let's just hop on in, John.
All right.
On the mic is my husband, John. He's going to make
Hello.
sure that you can see everything that I'm teaching and talking about by making sure one of our cameras is pointing at it. We're going to be breaking this down into steps and time stamping it. Be sure to check the description for information about colors and materials. And John, I think we're ready to just throw up a step.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the mood for it.
You're in the mood
I'm
to
in the
get
mood
into
for
it?
Step one, we're going to kind of lay out our landscape. So I'm going to have a tool here. This is called a T-square. T-square's whole basic purpose is to help you draw a straight line. I'll grab a watercolor pencil. So if I were to measure this canvas in half, the halfway point is the 4-inch mark. And if I wanted to be a little bit above the 4-inch mark, just a smidge, maybe like at the 3-inch mark.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm going to come across here. I'm going to make just that little light line, and that can help me. Another thing I can do if I'm super challenged with my straight lines, and often will do, I'm going to grab a, not that brush, that is a gag gift brush that I cannot show on air. I'm going to take that right out of the paint bucket. I have a little ultramarine blue here, and I'm going to use an angle brush. This is a 1/2-inch angle brush. You could use any brush at home that you have right now. But what you're going to want to do is kind of draw a little horizon line across. That's not too bad. Doable. An ultramarine blue. You can handle that. You've got it. They've got it. You have it at home. I feel like a landscape today. A healing, restorative landscape. All right.
Is that the landscape we're going to paint?
This is the landscape we're going to paint.
That's pretty cool.
So now, not all the way, right, to the horizon line, but pretty close. And on the right-hand side, we've got a bit of a river coming, right, kind of down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use the corner of my brush to sort of loosely sketch this little river. Now, here's the truth about the little stream or the little river. We didn't send any pictures to your family or friends. They don't really know what the river looks like. So remember that when you're showing them your painting, even if it deviates a little bit from the path of this river, you don't have to tell them anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's none of their biz. Right? Bring a little bit off. And we'll come here because we know that our stream is going to be wide here where it comes close to us, and it's going to be narrow as it disappears into the far horizon. We're going to do something kind of interesting that we haven't done before too. We're going to take a little of this ultramarine blue, and I'm going to show you another, maybe easier way to paint clouds.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I'm going to come here, and I've got my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to come across, and we're going to sketch the basic form of our clouds.
Okay.
I think sometimes we get into the space where we think of clouds symbolically instead of what we're actually seeing. So we're going to actually draw and kind of paint in what we're seeing and then come around them and build the sky that way.
Ooh.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nice little low bank of clouds. You can even kind of put this all in blue so you can really see it. Now I will have this step up so you can compare your little strange bank of clouds to my little strange bank of clouds.
They are a strange bank.
Right? And we're going to come across here and say that there's another little fluff of clouds coming over this way. Going to do sky a whole different way. Instead of doing an ombre, especially because this cloud bank goes all the way across, this is a time when you can do that really easily.
Yeah.
We're going to paint their little basic shape. Now, this will be initially pretty one-dimensional. What I mean by that is that it'll be very flat to the picture plane. So then as we shade it and pull layers of clouds forward, it'll feel like the nice three-dimensional sky that we have in our photo.
Mm.
I'm being very loose and creative with my paint. I'm not being particularly precious with my brushstroke, and I'm very thin on the paint. I'm not putting it down in a heavy way. This works really well if you're not too heavy-handed.
I am heavy-footed and heavy-handed.
You are.
But, like, generally with a hammer and a gas pedal. But not a brush.
Not a brush. No, he's not heavy-handed with a brush. All right, let's
I'm brushless.
I'm going to remind myself that there's a little bit of a bank of cloud up here. And I don't want it to be that thick, but I'm going to put it right there.
You're not leaving the paint very thick here. It's very...
No, it's very thin, guys. I want you to put this very, very thin.
Everyone loves your hair except for the chroma key machine.
Oh, was half of it missing?
No, just the spots here. It's funny. You have to be zoomed in to see it, but periodically your hair sparkles, and that's because the chroma key is not showing you the green in her hair.
Well, now here we can kind of see what the contour or shape of a cloud is, right? And that can help us get out of our own head when we're symbolic about our clouds. The other thing that we know is that we're going to have a little bit of a cloud kind of coming right across here on our little water. Are we not?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just
It's your water.
schedule that very lightly here and go, oh, hey, don't forget.
Not my water.
Water is a mirror. Everybody from
yeah.
Acrylic April went, water is a mirror.
That's right.
And we'll make sure that we've got this little bank of clouds that were up top come out here.
What is Acrylic April?
Acrylic April is a 30-day painting program. We paint every single day.
So when does it happen?
Every April. But you can do it any time of year. The whole program, the last 3 years are all actually up there for you to watch anytime.
So if you just found us and you were like, I need lots of things to paint.
Yeah, and if you want to learn about water and landscape, this last Acrylic April and some post, COVID reality, I was like, let's just all paint landscapes, really complicated landscapes. But it is an incredibly in-depth landscape course that will let you paint this with ease. And it's sequentially built up so that the skills from one thing build up to another thing. Now, hopefully you kind of see here, even in this, that water is a mirror reality even works in this just 2 colors of paint. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of see the reflection?
Oh, yeah.
I think we can. So I'm going to take a picture and call it a step.
Step. We can do that.
And I'm going to add some more colors. I'm definitely going to put out some phthalo blue. All right. So I've got ultramarine blue. Now I've got phthalo blue. 2 blues. My phthalo blue is now, I put it in the most, actually, there we go.
Oh, okay. I can move around.
All right. You good?
I'm good.
You're good. All right. I'm going to also put out some quinacridone magenta. You can use any magenta that you have. Another color for this painting that could be very nice is just quinacridone red. Would be a very lovely color for this particular painting. Next to that quin magenta, I'm going to put a little cad red because sometimes these two play nicely together. I do like how they interact. I'm going to put out a little cad yellow. I've got some ultramarine blue right here, and because I've got this little quinacridone magenta here, I probably will not have to put out any brown or black. I'm going to put out white. We'll go over that color again just real fast. And
making the colors.
So far I've had an 8x8 surface. I've used a 1/2-inch angle brush. We've got ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, quinacridone magenta, cad red medium, cad yellow medium, and titanium white.
Nice.
Taking a deep breath. Oh, it's so nice. Let's paint maybe in this area around and get some background sky going and maybe some little river water going. And we'll see if we need to get brown in. Actually, let's just put it out now. We're going to need it later. And if we have the brown here, then we have it to gray. Why do we use brown? Because the brown and ultramarine blue create a very specific to sky gray that may help us later on. So we're just going to put it out there preemptively, knowing we'll need it at a later date, and we might as well enjoy it now.
So what you're saying is blue and brown make sky gray.
Yeah. Blue and brown make sky gray.
Okay.
I'm going to take a little of my ultramarine blue and my phthalo blue and mix them together.
Gotta be cool. I can't wait to see this.
And I'm going to want to make a very light color here.
Sky.
So I want the pigment in there. I do want it to be definitively blue, but I want it to be quite light.
It is quite light.
And I'm going to paint around the little clouds that I sort of sketched in with this nice light color. I'm still just using that 1/2-inch angle brush. I may do most of this painting with a 1/2-inch angle brush. You know how I am. It could happen.
You decide that there's one brush to paint it all.
One brush to bind them. Now I like to take the light color up into even my cloud forms, and that's just because then I can kind of layer things easily.
Mm-hmm.
This is acrylic paint, and we can do a little bit of layering when we want to.
It's a lot like a parfait.
Mm-hmm. It is a lot like a parfait. I can let the pigment go a little darker at the top of the sky, right? Where it's a little bit maybe later in the day. I'm just painting this around. Come in a little bit lighter. Just really enjoying all of this.
It really is cool.
Yeah. Now there'll be so many little clouds to take back and deal with up in here, but right now I'm just trying to make sure that I have a value that's fairly light. I'm going to rinse that out. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red and Quin Magenta, right, and mix those together 1 to 1. This is one of my very favorite color mixes. One of my very favorites. I'm going to make sure there's no blue in my brush at the moment. And I'm going to come and get just such a super light pink here. And brush across here. Just a very light little pink. It's not even stressful, is it?
No.
A little bit of white and a little bit of that pink with those two colors. Now, as I come over to the side, what I can do is add a little bit of blue into that, and see it just immediately kind of grays it and cools it, doesn't it?
Yeah, no.
So we get a nice ombre. Ombre. Do you like ombres? I do.
Now, I'm going to, Romanti here has a great question, but I'm going to hold it until the next break, the next step, because it's kind of a long answer, I think.
Okay.
But we'll get to it. I just wanted to know that I'm going to...
That you're there and you're listening. I'm just getting a little of that white and pink. And again, we want it to be very light. And then it can get a little bit into the blue, can't it?
I don't know.
Cool it out a bit, and we like that. We're going to cool it out a bit between those clouds. That looks good. Now here, back here, I can get a little of that pink and quite a lot of the white. And I want a very, very light color. That might even almost be too dark, but we'll see where it is. Coming across there, just a slightly pink tone. Get into our blue a bit.
Because as above is so below.
As above is so below. Now, water will be just a little bit darker than its sister sky. And I may kind of smooth this out a bit. Just a little bit where I don't have an obvious brush stroke to it. Make sure it's light enough. You can see I'm doing that. Adding more white. Yeah. I'm happy with that. Come in here. See how I get that magenta in there and it goes into that, very sky purple that we're seeing here?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the beginning of a thought that we had about everything.
It's just a thought.
It's just a thought. That hue over there. Back and forth I'm brushing. There we go. Let's, this is such an important stage of the painting. Let's call it a step, and I'll take that question that you had and sip my coffee, because today is a calming, healing landscape.
Okay, so I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Romanti
Hi.
Says, I have both quinacridone and magenta. Okay, so I have both quinacridone magenta and quinacridone red. Should I use both along with cad red or quin red instead of magenta?
So on this one, you could probably do most of the sky with the quinacridone red. And if you're very familiar with your paints, like if I used a lot of different colors at every painting, I probably would have gotten into the quin reds for this one. But I'm trying to use a stable, consistent, predictable palette so that people can invest in the paint and paint along with me a little bit easier. You guys at home, though, you have a lot of choices in what you can do. And so I highly recommend experimenting. And I might have gone quin red, based on that truth. So if you have it, you might want to get it out.
Gotcha. So you were on the right trail and didn't know it.
You're on the right trail and you didn't even know it.
That's good.
You didn't even know it. Now, one of my very favorite brushes for clouds is the number 12 round blender. You can use my cloud brushes, but they're so stiff they're like a dome scumbler, and they're better for like wispy clouds or creating hard edges or working in dry brushing. And this one we want to do blended. And this is camel or pony hair. I think they call it pony. It is not from an actual pony. It is from a mix of hairs. I'm going to get it a little bit wet. And I'm going to start just building in some clouds. So I'll get my ultramarine blue up here and a little of my quin. And you can see that this starts to go into that cloudy purple. And I can always knock it back. You'll hear artists talking about this with a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to just paint some of these little shadowy, cloudy shapes. I want to be very soft with my brush. Did we get the step up?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Sometimes I get so busy to painting, I don't know where we're at. I get ahead of John a bit.
Yeah, so some folks were noticing that we've got some new lighting, some new positioning, and you are correct. We've got some changes that this may be the first time that some of you guys have seen this stuff, but there's a lot of changes happening. Thank you very much to our patrons who have empowered us to do this.
Yeah. We could not do it without you guys.
And we're so pleased to share some wonderful news soon. And you guys will be the first to hear about it. Yeah.
So he can't tell you now. I'm going to add a little bit more white here.
But it's all
and so sometimes under the clouds, maybe I'll go a little bit white and then, come in a little bit darker as I layer up the clouds that are closer to us. And that's going to create the sense of distant cloud and forward cloud. You know how when you're in a field and it's just rained and you can just kind of almost smell it.
Yep.
The rain off the field. Now, some of this is quite dark there, and so I'm going to just make sure I have a shadow under my cloud. I can go phthalo blue, and magenta also is a grayed out kind of deep purple. So there's a couple ways to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always a good idea just to, look at the value. Try not to think of your clouds as clouds per se, because sometimes those ideas or concepts or words get in your head, and it prevents you from being able to do your greater work of seeing value. What you see me doing here as I come across here is just putting in the shadow of the cloud. I want to put in the shadow. You can always come in and lighten it if I feel like it's lightened here. I love painting really dramatic little skies. They give me a lot of joy. A lot of joy. So you get a little phthalo blue in it and come underneath. Every once in a while I will rinse out. And I'm going to come in and get a lot more white and maybe a smidge of my pink, but mostly a lot more white. And we're going to really lighten up the area.
What brush are you using?
I'm using a number 12 Princeton round blender.
And if you were going to recommend a brush for doing clouds, that would be one?
I think, okay, so there's several brushes I would recommend. I have a series of brushes, a collection of brushes that are my cloud brushes. This is one I feel like it's important to have in your brush bucket.
Now, if you were going to do a giant cloud painting over a sofa,
you would need bigger brushes, much bigger. You're going to want to get jumbo brushes, and at that point, you just want to understand the shapes and textures and nature of filaments for your brushes, and then you want to buy the supersized version of those. You'll find that big brushes can get into the hundreds and hundreds of dollars real fast, so if you want to get a good deal on them, Jerry's Artorama 2 times a year puts all of their in-store brand house brushes on super sale, so you can get like $100 and something brush for like $5.
All right, and I also would like to share a little technology insight. If you go to Ace Hardware, go down into the designer brush and finishing sections, you can get very, very good modern synthetic brushes made to a very high end, but then you're not buying a quote-unquote artist brush, you're buying a utility paintbrush.
So, which you don't really care about, though,
no,
do they? No, they don't really care.
When you go in there, it's the same filaments, it's the same stuff. They're huge, and a lot of times these brushes are better made because they're designed to be abused, just in my personal opinion. So
designed to be abused. I'm going to get a little of my phthalo blue in there and just continue to play.
If you like big brushes like me, and I cannot lie, Ace Hardware is a place that you can find them.
You're so funny. Oh, I enjoy him so much. Let's add a little bit of a little white bit there, and we're just layering up our little clouds, right? We're playing. Getting those little gray clouds in. Clouds can be so moody, can't they?
What's that?
Clouds can be so moody.
Thoughts? What'd you say?
Clouds?
Clouds! I was like, what?
I'm going to go back and look at like the closed captioning to see if I was like having that much trouble with the speech, or it's just you listening.
I think it's just me. I was reading something else, and you know me, I can't hear anything.
No, because sometimes I go back through the closed captioning when I'm trying to enable video translation, because now they make you do a weird thing to enable video translation.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I don't know what I said, but whatever it was, the closed captioning did not love it. You can see me getting into the deep values. Right? Don't be afraid of those deep values. Even on clouds, I think sometimes we get so afraid of the dark colors on the clouds. Dark clouds, right? We want all our clouds to be little white fluffy clouds. And so we don't build up the sky that we actually have. Sometimes I'll get my brush a little extra water in it just so that the paint is flowing off well. I'm mixing my phthalo blue, and you can even get a little brown into it if you need to neutralize it back. Remember, brown in your sky is okay, guys.
It's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing.
But seriously, they're all agreeing. Yes, hardware store, good brushes can be found, especially
absolutely there. Let's come up and
stuff.
Add some little clouds that are wispy and up high, and maybe coming in from the distant up.
Terry would like to know, is this dry brushing?
Some of it is, but actually it's more of not really blending wet into wet. We're glazing more. I would say that it has more in common with glazing. Not to confuse you in any way, but sometimes techniques are like that, because you can kind of see how, and don't forget that you can get in here and really like work something in. If you're like, I need you to blend, you can get your finger in it and like work it in. So don't feel like you can't. You can. Now, while we're here, let's take some of this drama. I've rinsed out. Bring my blue up here. Let's take some of this drama. A little brown into it. We want it to be a little kind of neutralized for the water. And let's make sure And I might kind of change my stream direction just so that when I'm kind of glazing this out and I'm adding these little fluffs and I'm kind of blending it in. See how I push it into the water? Maybe I go on the little toe of the brush because I want it to be a little light. Kind of smudge that in, right? Blend that in. Don't underestimate the smudge. Smudges are powerful. Add some light to it. And just blend it in. The brush can do it, or you can do it. It's fine either way. Rinsey, rinsey, rinse. Right, now let's really get some cloud, and maybe there's some magenta in it, perhaps, and some cad yellow, so it's quite warm. See how warm and peach that is?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Really light. And we're going to say right here.
Right there. Right there.
Right here. The cloud is going to be so light. So light. And we really want that contrast to really see how light that cloud is. And I'm going to lighten the tops of some of these. That's just lovely.
Now, if you were having any sort of trouble with your canvas, if you wanted to base coat it with white or blue, would that be helpful?
It depends on the kind of trouble you're having with your canvas. So if you could be more specific, I promise you there is an art solution for whatever is happening in your studio.
I think Lily was just asking in general, could you base coat a canvas with white or blue in this case?
Yes, always.
Okay.
It would be called, you would call that kind of like an underpainting or an undercoat, and a lot of artists actually preferentially do that.
They tint their gesso?
They tint their gesso. They do. And that's okay. That's allowed. Don't let anyone tell you that's not. Not that anybody would. Know. Honestly, if anybody was like telling you can't do that with gesso, I'd be like, what is up with you?
See, now I'm
going
to
take
the stand. No, I'm going to be like, we only use clear gesso. That's an arbitrarily strange stand that I can take on something.
If you feel like you must take an arbitrarily strange stand on something, then I guess you'll have to. But I don't know why you would.
I thought that was a requirement of art teachers.
Get a little pink in here. Arbitrarily strange stand?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like some teachers like to take arbitrarily strange stands.
I just want everyone to feel comfortable here, so I was like going to just take a position that was totally indefensible and make everybody do it.
Why not? So can you see how we're just lightening up our clouds and we're building in little layers? Now, while this is all having a minute to think, I'm going to go ahead and grab a round brush, just my number 4 Art Sherpa round. And I'm going to get into my little kind of shadowy cloud color, as you do. And I'm going to make sure that I've got a little kind of bit of pieced clouds, things that are a little thought out. Bring those out. See how I'm tapping them out, making little shapes? Your clouds are just like a still life, or just like a stone, or just like a tree. They are lights and darks, warm and shadow. I'm just bringing that little shadow there.
It really creates that detailed filigreedness that makes that say cloud in your head.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
How strange of it to do so, but it does. Might as well take advantage of it. You can always just come in and just play with these things as you see them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to get some clean water because as you can see, this water is a little bit dirty. I'm going to pull some clean water over. Sure, my blendy brush is very clean. I'm going to again get a little of my quinacridone and my pad yellow. And see, it gets quite peachy here. Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
Let's also make sure that we're pulling some of this down here. Because we wouldn't want to be one-sided about it. I'm going to blend it with my finger. Now, if you're worried about the cadmium, because you've got pure cadmium pigment, you can use rubber gloves, and that is absolutely okay. And it's always good to think about studio safety.
Mm-hmm.
That's never wrong. I'll take a little bit of my cad red and my quinacridone. Look at that bright cloud coming in there. What does it think it's doing? Something. Just thinks it's up to something, doesn't it? Just kiss a couple of these little areas right there. Could be doing a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Added some water just so I could blend that out, soften those edges. And that's a lot why sometimes I like this brush, is because it will let me soften an edge if I really, really want to.
Mm-hmm.
A little white on there. Let's keep building that forward. Keep playing with those shapes.
This is really stunning sky.
I like painting these kinds of skies. And we want to just make sure that we really, really bring it, right? Bring the color. Come here and add maybe some little highlights under the bottoms of these clouds in pink, because, you know, they maybe caught some. And that can happen, can it?
Oops.
So see how those clouds caught a little bit of pink? They were playful. They were having some feelings, as clouds can. Maybe hit some little pink under there. Play with it there, where it's like, oh, I could have been a thing, but I'm not a thing. Now, I'm going to take a little of my yellow and pink and a lot of white. And make sure that this bit of the sky here on the right has a bit of that warm glow. I'm going to come across here and also add quite a lot of that warm glow across the stream back here. I want it to not be pink, but I just want it to be a little bit warmer. And I haven't lost my lines. I know where those are still. So you can still see those. We're just making sure that this is here. Put a little of our quinacridone and cad red. getting the beginnings of those colors in, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Rinse out. We're going to take a picture, call it a step, and come back and put kind of the final zazz on it.
Yeah.
Because really, this is a cloudscape. So that's where all of our energy in the painting is going. I know I need my coffee warmed up.
That's okay. Because
I will put it to the end and sip my very healthy mineral water.
You can sip the mineral water and teach the class while I warm the coffee.
All right. So, do we have the step up?
You already did it.
Okay. I didn't know if you put the step up.
I did.
I didn't see because I was sipping coffee and looking away.
Mm-hmm. But we did.
Very serious about our art here. So I'm going to come in and again get into that pink and yellow that we like so much, right? Make that warm. Warm color. Let's make sure that we've got some just wow highlights here.
Yeah.
I need to put in a little water. I'll just dip the tip of my brush in. I don't want it to get too wet, but it's okay if I'm like, hey, I need a little more flow. Just adding those bright pops. A little along the bottom side of that. A little bit of our yellow. So nice. Ooh.
Wow.
That's lovely. It's on fire.
Fire.
Fire. That's right. Fire. Come here. And some of our warmth.
Yeah. I like the sky. It looks pretty cool.
I'm liking it. Getting that reflection going on the water.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to soften it, I can just rinse out the brush. Very carefully soften these things. Add a little depth to that color. A little quinacridone and magenta. I'm there, man. I can handle it. A little more cad red. Look at that. Add a little yellow of that cad red. It just sets it on fire, doesn't it? Just playing with these colors. You're not going to be sorry that you did. It will always be fun to have done it. You're not going to be like, oh man, I wish I hadn't gotten into those bright colors. I'm so sorry I got into bright colors. What was I thinking? You're always going to be like, man, I love getting in those bright colors. Add some light into here. Sometimes it's nice to put some light values back in. put some light value back into the water. Who's not about that, right? Look at that. So pretty. Let's look at it from up top. See how we're going. Oh, I think we're ready to put in some little details now.
Yeah?
Yeah, so let's get into our little detail area with our red and yellow and a little bit of our magenta. And bring some little pops down in some of these.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little bit of this here and push a little along the bottoms of clouds. Exaggerate our sunset a bit. Because we can. See how we do that here?
Mm-hmm.
Exaggerate it just a little bit. Can even make a little exaggerated fellow right there and
Mm-hmm.
come up here and just highlight the bottoms.
Really is amazing.
I like it. It's fun for me to do. And I want you guys to have fun with it. A little white and a little more yellow. Just keep exaggerating.
That's something you don't hear a lot in your life. Keep exaggerating.
You gotta be, you know
Keep
what? You gotta be a
imagining.
little bit dramatic.
Be dramatic.
Because
When
I'm
was the last time-
dramatic.
When was the last time your boss said, "Could you go be a little dramatic for me?" You know,
I need you to be more dramatic.
that's a
I'm
good job.
just pulling that in there, and then we absolutely can kind of imply this is happening down here, and a little of our yellow and white. And see, because it's going through that pink and all those other colors that we have there, when we put it here into the water, right? Like, look, it just becomes magic. And we want a little magic. Yes, we do. What a fun sky. Now, I'm going to put out a little more white. A little more white because I love it. A little more white here. And we're going to make sure that we have the pops of light color that we need to have. There's a couple of them back here, and I do want to get a little of the blue into it, but I want to make sure that it's light enough because we have a couple little bits of it's that light. All right. I feel like that's a nice sky and reflection, that good beginning to that. And the stream is just looking really, really good. And I feel like we can really, really see it happening here. You know, I can always just look at that and be like, you know, do I feel like I have the things in there that I need it to feel like what it is? Two.
Thank you to everybody out there in Super Chat and all of
Super
our
Chat,
Patreon
thank you.
supporters. Thank you guys. All the
You did not
Emoji
hit it.
Club. I did not. I was busy listening and being.
I was like, I don't know why that sounded very petulant.
I was busy being witty.
You
I'll
are
go
witty,
back
though.
to my
No, you're witty.
duties.
You're much more witty than I am, though. I'm going to add some, like, little more shapes sort of in the water, maybe. With my number 4 round, because I can play with these, can't I? Really sort of see them. It'll be fun when we put the reflection from the little grass down on all of it. You know, and we'll come back through here and hit our little stream perspective when the grass goes in, and then we reflect the grass and we put little reeds and grass in it, and then we'll put some little water top reflections. This landscape will be like next level, next level, next level. Just so pretty, so calming, so healing. I think the things that we look at have the capacity to heal us and make us feel better just generally. And I'm very excited about how this one is doing that. I'm going to put out some phthalo green, and I am going to put out some black. If you'll remember that yellow and black also make green. We did that really big in that the aforementioned acrylic April. We did a little bit of that yellow and black make green. It's a controversial theory in my family, but I very much like the combo. And when I'm trying to get contrast or have a lot of greens in a field, it's nice to have a few ways to get into my green. So, you know, I've got ultramarine and yellow, I've got burnt sienna and phthalo green, I've got Mars black, and I've got cad yellow. And with the red in here, I can really get some oranges, I can get some yellows, I can get a lot of color in my field, which is going to make the grass as interesting as the clouds. And I think that's important. It's like sometimes you'll look at just a simple landscape photo and you'll forget that you can take this story further than what is just there. You can be extra. If you want to be extra.
So you get to be dramatic, you get to be extra, you get to be expressive.
You do. I'm going to take a little of my, have we stepped?
Did you step? I did not step.
No, I'm going to take 2 pictures and
step.
I will.
Step. Hello.
I don't know if that will work.
You'll
notice something happened there.
Something happened here?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully
All
with
right.
the steps.
Something happened in that step. There could have been a talking step, but we'll move on to the next. Who knows?
So now I'm going to come along and really sort of think about my stream bed. As you do. Well, that's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and perhaps we'll come along here and just terrific.
It is terrific.
I'm going to take a little bit of my black and yellow, and you'll
Is your
remember
coffee
black
warm?
and yellow make
Did
green.
you even touch your warm coffee?
I did,
Okay,
and I'm going to
just
touch
wanna
it
make
some
sure.
more. Do we have any questions to make me touch it more?
I'm sure there's a question. Earlier on, they were asking where'd you get the canvas?
Oh, that's an Artist Loft canvas
Okay.
from Michael's. Got it in a pack when they were having that big clearance.
Lily says how absolutely amazing you are.
Lily, you're amazing too, and thank you for saying so. I hope you're having a good day.
And thank you, Deborah, and all the folks who are supporting us in Super Chat. And the things. Oh, reference photo. Sorry.
It's okay. So we're going to put some distant trees. We used black and yellow to create a distant, faraway green. And I'm still using my cloud brush because you know what else it makes? Fantastic bush.
Okay, this is a super good question. It's so hard to get answered, but it's about managing expectation.
Yes. Oh, gosh, managing your own expectations of yourself in art. Oh, so tough.
Here's the question.
Right.
Bella would like to know, how long does it take before one can actually be good?
So I do wish that there was an exact formula that was even and consistent and fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because it's not even consistent and fair, we started creating language to describe that different journey for different people. So like, oh, this person is talented and this person is not talented. Instead of, for some people, there's an aptitude and they get it really quick. And maybe they have it in 20 paintings. It's weird, but it happens. For the most part, somewhere before your 100th painting, you'll have 5 or 6 major creative breakthroughs. If you can paint consistently without big breaks between the painting sessions, your brain will start to do its job for you. It loves to see pictures and it loves to make these connections. It's its favorite thing to do. And so if you can just put in the time, you will find that along the way, you all of a sudden will like, oh, I never actually saw that shape of a tree before, but now I can see it. You know, or I didn't realize that the things that I thought were see-through aren't really see-through, but as much as reflections. There'll be weird things that your brain really starts to genuinely see.
I'm gonna give a. I've watched a lot of folks paint,
Mm-hmm.
and what I would say is like to give yourself like I see that after 20 dedicated paintings, there's a significant improvement in student work.
Yeah, yeah. It seems to be like at 20. Okay, well, there's a breakthrough that tends to happen before 10.
Sure.
Somewhere between 5 and 10, and then there's the 20 breakthrough, and then somewhere between 20 and 50, there's a series of cascading creative breakthroughs about perspective, about value, about color mixing, about technique, about how art is constructed. Somewhere between 20 and painting 50, you'll start looking at clouds and breaking down how they're painted.
Mm-hmm.
Much differently than you ever have before. And then between 50 and 100, there's a very interesting series of things that'll happen to you, like being really hard on yourself and expecting a lot of yourself because you understand it now, but you haven't quite gotten the muscle memory together yet. So
you'll be able to see it, but you won't be able to do it yet.
So frustrating, I know. I'm going to just continue to bring this back and forth. This is a nice kind of deep value that we can bring to the ground. As you go, you know, bringing that deep value to the ground. A lot of contrast in low light paintings, so you don't want to. It's real easy to not have enough contrast. Real easy. So you want to make sure that you do. So this is like black with a little bit of yellow. And we'll get our angle brush out. I can get a bigger angle brush just to make fast work of an area. So this is, I always get the 3/4 inch angle brush. And I'm going to take my burnt sienna and my phthalo green and kind of come in here and fill in the rest of it very quickly. Because I need to get a deep value kind of going under this base. Paint it in.
It's a green now.
It's getting green. This 3/8 angle. For acrylic, this particular brush is a ruby satin. Princeton, a bunch of companies make some good ones. Raphael makes some good ones. I need to get some of the Raphaels in. Need to do a shopping moment here for myself soon. Now I've got these wonderful, fun front grasses that we're going to get really into. But for right now, we're just going to get the white canvas covered with paint.
Wow, that sky really just blasts through there.
Doesn't it now? Now we see it, don't we? The water, the sky. Look at that kind of go. Isn't that just wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like it. Okay. Oh, we've got some distant sky. We've got some great reflection. So we're going to have some fun reflection here and there. We put in our faraway trees. I might get another layer going on them because I want them to be, you know, deep and far away. And when I come in with highlights, the best way to get those highlights is if they're dark already. I want to make sure my trees aren't too cloned, in other words, too repeaty.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to dry my surface right now thoroughly.
Okay.
I'm not, because I don't have a hairdryer. I'm going to sip my coffee. John gets me a hairdryer. So what you're looking for here in your search of the ever perfect painting, right, is you're going to want to have a reflection of your sky in the water, right, because that's really waterways. And you're going to want to have a very deep landscape.
Let's hope that doesn't blow everything up. Let's see. Well, we'll see. All right, so that's what happens when you have a 25 amp breaker running your new studio. Hopefully you don't blow anything up. But we'll find out together, because this is live, and that's the best time to test your new equipment, right? I thought so. So anyway, I did test it earlier. Just, it's just not been hardened through a whole lot of tests yet, so we haven't done a lot of shows, so it should work. But I mean, there's always that. We all hold our breath and wait to find out the first few times.
Let's call it a step.
Let's.
Mm-hmm. It's a short step, but it's a step.
We have stepped. All right. That's a good step.
Let's look at our world here. So I'm going to take, there's some nice brown earth. I'll take a little of my black into my brown, because I do want it to be brown, but just a little bit toned. And I'm going to come along this little shoreline. And some of the shoreline, the brown goes right to the edge, and then some of it pulls back, and there's a very dark, kind of like mud water space. I'm going to want to make sure that I'm leaving room for that, even as I'm going to plant grass into it. Can come in and highlight with a little bit of white, if you can see, just to get a little. Rinse that out. That's nice. Get again my dark, dark, dark. Looking good. I'm going to take, I think, the distant trees, it might be nice to do a small filbert, just so I have some control. Mm-hmm. I've got this number 6 comb by Simply Simmons. I use a lot of grass combs on landscapes. I'm going to add a lot more yellow to my black. Try to get a lighter green going. And come back here and just, so the shape of the brush is going to help me kind of capture this. These are sort of distant little trees, right? And they're going to show up as distant little trees if they have a bit of a highlight on them. Like the clouds, I want to piece some of it, but not all of it, because this only shows up if there's a shadow. And then, when I lose the shadow, I lose the tree. I'd have to come back with a little bit of light. Can you believe how those distant trees are now suddenly popping? Sometimes when we paint green on green on green, it gets really overwhelming to know, how do I get different areas of green? It all just feels like it's one color to me. And it's really challenging to know how to how to pull out the different zones. And now we've got some nice distant trees. I can rinse out my little brush and just make sure that some of this is quite deep. I'm coming back with a little bit of black just to make sure that some of the areas underneath these trees is so dark. Right? Super green, but still dark. Look at that. Isn't that great? Look at that little landscape there. So we've got all this wonderful grass and everything coming forward. One of the great tools that we can use is a comb. Sometimes these are called grainers. I'll see if I can find my grainer. I think my grainer is being washed. But so grass comb, filbert grainer. Oh, there's my grainer. So they have a couple of names, and basically they're a filbert that's trimmed up quite a lot. And I'm going to use my biggest one here for the distance. And I think I'm going to take a little of my red and yellow and kind of mix an orange, but a very, very light orange. Like I don't want too much red in it because I want it to be light enough to be far away. And I'm going to grab a little green. Maybe a little white. And we don't want it to we really want it to be that end of summer kind of color. Even get a little brown into it if I need to. You'll find it. There we go. The start of it anyway. I'm going to sort of tap this little brush up and down. You guys see that distant grass?
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming up to this far bank. I'm going to pull this over. Sort of tapping up and down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take out all my dark value because my dark value really helps me shape a landscape. I'm going to create some darkness here. Little green and brown. I'm wiggling it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
A little white into that, so I've got phthalo green and give our grass some like light. There's a little curve in my stroke when I pull it across this landscape, and the strokes are short. And the strokes are short because the landscape is far away. Right, further away it is, the shorter the brush stroke would be. I can go back and get some orange into it. powerful stuff when I do, and tap it back and forth. And those little taps, those are very distant little grasses, right? You go back and forth, it's very distant little grasses. Little grass kind of bending over in the far off field. Little grass bending over in the far off field.
Ooh, I found buttons.
You found what button?
Uh,
I'm going to add a little bit of this kind of interesting orange here. This will be sort of in the earth, kind of coming forward. That's really nice. And I might add a little yellow into this orange and kind of come along my ground here on the edge of my brush. I speak about a highlight along there. Not nice.
it is.
Fun stuff to do.
I was
Hmm.
don't want to. I was just getting quiet so I could let you paint. I wasn't trying to.
Oh, I'm going to go a little black and yellow again.
Because you're in the hilly part.
I'm in some hilly stuff, right? So I want to definitely...
Let's see here. Ooh, wander around over there. Okay, there. Now I can get some zoom in. I haven't finished upgrading RoboCam, so he's still a bit clunky.
I think I'm going to pull some of this little orange back here and kind of speak to maybe a bank. Yeah, there's a bit of a bank here.
There's gonna be a new robot in town.
There is. I'm going to keep going in the little bank there. How's it going? Do you guys like that bank?
I like that bank. Now that
How
we
does
can
that
get closer,
feel?
we had to zoom in to see it closer. Because it was
Sometimes
a little,
we do. Sometimes we got to zoom in to see it closer. And
I
then
needed
go
to get a closer look at.
into my green, and then I can get into a lot of yellow. That's burnt sienna, green and yellow, over a yellow and black. This is a very bright highlight. Maybe I'll kind of tone that highlight back over into my orange. I still want the value to be lighter.
Orange.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like highlighting little clumps. See the little clumps forming?
I see. Don't get clumpy with me.
Sometimes the clumps can't help what they're doing. Little clumps here. Little clumps there. Little clump here, little clump there, here clump, there clump, everywhere clump, clump. Look at that little clump. It's so fun to do landscapes. They really have a lot going on, don't they?
I think so.
I think I need a little more yellow. Maybe some white. And some light over here in the back of the field, right?
Yeah. Ooh, that's cool. Look at that.
A little bit of light catching those distant grasses.
Oh. Sorry for the unusual camera work today with this. My robot is upside down today, so it doesn't work. I mean, literally, it's quite upside down. And so he's working backwards.
You're working backwards?
And he only has one speed, which is extra fast.
Extra fast.
It's a very old robot. Are you
So
stepping?
look at this. I'm stepping. Look at this wonderful world as it comes forward.
Trying to
Doesn't it build up? So it's a field with a stream and a nice sky, and yet it starts to become this painting that's transformative and so meaningful.
Don't try to sidestep me.
I'm not going to try to sidestep you. You silly Billy. Yes, silly Billy.
Because I got to load the steps.
And I continue to come forward with phthalo green and burnt sienna. It's a bit of a brighter run. Right, these two together.
So there's some folks here that
Yes. We have kind of a little hill coming down here that we've got to really think about. Maybe I'll get into my black here as I come forward. Little grass is into the stream. Some distant reflections of maybe some little grasses in the stream. Kind of little vertical little fellows. I may need to pause this. You have a thing I want to say. I see you leaning out.
Everybody from King's Landing to the Freeze Cities would like to know, when is winter coming?
I don't know, man. Winter will be here. You know, winter is coming. Let's pull some reflections, you know, some little grasses forward.
Jumpy robot.
A little white on here. A few little sparkles to the water. Just distant little thoughts. The thoughts. You guys excited about the winter?
Mm-hmm. They're asking, when is winter coming? They would like to paint some snow.
There is a snow-capped mountain scheduled out. You can see in the lives. Go hit the remind button on that. There'll probably be like a little bit early, a little time lapse of it, so you can kind of see what it'll be involved for the live.
And a amuse bouche of cinnamon.
Yeah, an amuse bouche, a little taster. The platform gets what the platform wants. I'm just making little grasses here, guys. You see those little grasses kind of capturing that little hill coming forward?
The grasses, yes.
They're fun. I like them very much.
Beth's in the Adirondacks, so it's like, no, I'm high enough in the mountains. No, thank you.
Oh, she doesn't need winter?
Yeah, she's like, nope, we're above the snow belt, so it's fine.
Well, I mean, no, we have snow here.
We do, but we're not year-round.
No.
Or the capability of having it year-round. And some places in the country do when you get high enough in the mountains. It's not that it always sticks there, especially with, you know, the changing climate that we're not going to talk about.
That you just did.
No, we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to acknowledge it and move on.
No, don't acknowledge it.
Don't acknowledge it. Pretend it doesn't happen. It will all go away. No.
That's exactly what it's done when a meteor hit. Never mind. Doesn't matter.
So snow.
Snow.
Above,
we
yeah,
like it.
falls.
We expect more of it.
We would like more of it. More snow's good. It helps reflect heat off the planet. Does good things. We like snow.
Just adding some dark green up here so that when I build up the highlights of the green and the different little reds and browns in the green, the grass feels a little like, you know, Making sure our earth is like, it's there, but it's not like so there that you're like, earth, earth,
Earthlings.
earthlings and zerglings, oh my.
Well, it's the Earthlings that should realize they got one planet.
You're on about that today, aren't you?
No, not just today.
Just every day.
You know, I find it amusing.
Hmm.
The Earthlings shall be entertained.
Adding little bits of grasses back here. Come in with a little bit of earth up here, and I'll come across back and forth. See, I'm coming back and forth to kind of imply the hidden earth.
Mm-hmm.
Short grasses in there. Because we need a clump of kind of bright green grasses. So those will be mostly phthalo green right here.
Ooh, that's some grass.
Okay. We've got that bright phthalo green grass there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come in with my yellow and a little green. Just kind of an upward stroke, letting the brush's hairs create the little grasses. You don't want them to be too orderly. They should be a little unruly.
See, Patty even brought up it snowed on the top of the mountains on the Big Island when she was visiting Maui.
Dude.
And so, yeah, snow happens.
It does.
All over the place.
It is now.
Oh, yeah. Lake effect. That's crazy, Beth. Have you ever heard of this? Cinnamon? Lake effect?
No, I have not heard of lake effect. We're adding little highlights to our green grass.
So I know about this in Chicago, but I'm sure it's in other places too. That the winds off of the Great Lakes are so intense that they come just flying across the lake and they pick up water in that water vapor because of the wind. And then so when it hits Chicago or anything, it's just this wall of snow because the water vapor turns to snow and then it falls on the city. So you have this.
I'm switching to a dagger brush. Keep telling me.
Yeah, you have this crazy lake effect that just drops snow right there all the time. Just, and it's pretty crazy.
I'm putting in a couple little detailed grasses just so that, we have some differences, right?
Yeah, there's lots of people who are saying, we live near the Great Lakes and get snowed in by the wind.
I bet.
And it's just...
I've never been to the Great Lakes.
Yeah?
I'm going to put in little short...
we're close enough to the falls, Niagara Falls. We should just go see those.
I would like to.
Have FJ.
I would like to anything.
We should go. You know
Everyone in the family would like to anything.
You know why we haven't?
Yeah, I do know why.
Pandemic.
I know why we haven't anything.
Makes you stay inside a little while. That's going to be something we're all going to enjoy soon.
I mean, for us, I think, we were kind of germaphobes before.
I was a hermit that had a wife. And then...
Making little tiny grasses, guys. We're just making little grasses, little moments in the grass.
2021 happened and proved that I really don't need to go outside. I'm fine staying in the house. everyone who has experienced lake effect snow is they're all together comforting each other going they know how much it sucks.
Does it?
It's I've seen photos that I didn't believe were real. Like it's just a
I
wall of
think the one
frozen
that gets
ice.
me is I've seen in like Norway and something like in your daily dose of internet or something, balls, giant ice balls in the ocean, like banging up against the shore. I'm like, that would be disturbing, deeply disturbing. I'm just making sure we've got some nice, like tall, like individual grasses. See how we have some individuals now, and that gives that a little bit of, thoughtfulness. And I'm going to grab a little of my blue and brown, which kind of makes our weird gray. Add some white to it. I'm going to come along this. This is a detail brush. This particular one is an ultra round. I think it's like pretty much a monogram liner. Just a very fine detail brush. I'm going to just make sure that there's a little bit of a white line along the shoreline here.
Got a lot of invitations from the Great Lakes areas. We could just rent a houseboat, drive around up there, and they'd be places to stop all the time.
Adding a little bit of a little shore reflection back here, which you see is pretty powerful.
I'm zooming in on that. It really makes it pop.
Little shore reflection here. There we go. So now we have this like lovely little shore reflection kind of giving us some,
It does.
Gives us some vibes, doesn't it? And then I'm going to get my smaller, I think I'll show you the grainer this time so you can kind of see the difference. I think the grainer is a little more pieced out.
Yeah.
To be honest. And I'm going to get a little black on here. Thinned with water. See that there?
Mm-hmm.
And then
that's the little shore reflection.
Yeah, of grasses and things that are reflecting down in the water.
There's a subtle little thing that you've done there that's super important to make that shoreline effect.
And
that's that there's a little gap between the reflection and the shore edge. Because where the water touches the edge of the shore, it makes an odd roll so it doesn't reflect the same way. So because you're starting back a little bit from the edge of that's
well, there's also that deep water and it's weird, and there's some grasses coming through it, so there were several breaks. Sometimes the reflection will be right to the water.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it will. Sometimes it won't. But here there is this when I want to make it more like a bush, I kind of sometimes go on the edge. Come along here. And this is fun. So pretty to paint. We can just do these all. We can do winter scenes. We can do summer scenes. We don't care. The weather doesn't have anything to do with us. There we go. That's kind of fun. You get that going, and then you can be like, oh, I want some green.
Everything's
There's
backwards.
This like weird sort of
sorry
stuff that is in the. It's like in the water along the shore edge. It's just a weird deal. It's like kind of damp, kind of low. All right, look at us going. We're doing so good, guys.
Yeah.
Get a little black on here. There's a little bit of the dark kind of grasses and things that are in the water.
That's a grass comb you're playing with?
This is the grainer.
Oh, the grainer.
Okay, a little grainer. I can use it to kind of create some little sparkle effects.
Some sparkle in the water.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes a little sparkle in the water goes a long way. Little details like that can be a big deal. Look at that. Makes it even more like water, right?
Mm-hmm.
The grainer can give you some nice randomness to it.
Yeah.
There's a good acrylic April one with a mountain and a stream that's kind of a sister painting to this, even though it didn't mean to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How is that, guys? Aren't we doing such a good job? We've got so many greens out here, don't we?
That's pretty amazing.
So many greens. Distant trees, everything is looking like it's supposed to. It's kind of nice.
Is this a step?
This is step.
All right, we should step here. And I'll let everyone see step 8. It's great. I'll paint some more.
So up here, we have such a wonderful opportunity to have fun. We have a great opportunity to create levels in grass and everything. We have a great opportunity to maybe even put in a little flowers or just some little element of kind of more fun field. I am going to start again with my bigger filbert grain grass comb, the half-inch grass comb. And let's start, with a very dark green, which is our black and yellow, right? And let's make sure that this edge here is kind of plant-like.
Oh.
See how we're doing that? Making sure even this little fine edge, even though we're going to put very specific plants here, we don't want this like sharp paint line. We want it to be like a natural line.
Gotcha.
So I'm just using black and yellow here. And already that really helps that forward line. I find that with grass strokes, it's best to not be too rigid or too orderly. It's good to be directional to the left or to the right. So I want you guys to know something and pass it on if you see anybody like freaking out over it. We're going to be releasing some 20-minute, very involved, in-depth time lapses to painting lessons that are coming up. So one thing to know is that I will put in it, direct you to the painting lesson that is coming up. Okay. So you know where the full lesson is. These will be maybe more in depth than we even do on the channel, and we're going to probably let the patrons see the whole long mess.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be good. I'm just saying you get all of it.
And that we might even
in
set
real
it to
time.
Music.
Or John might put some music to it.
Piano.
The 20-minute ones, 15-minute ones will have music. YouTube seems to want some of that. And that'll let you see what's coming up on the paintings. Like The Hobbit will be the first one that you see. And we'll try to get that out by Thursday. So you can kind of see, oh, what am I going to do in The Hobbit? I'm going to take it a little further. We're going to go deep.
Yeah.
So support those, please. And then let other people know that we haven't somehow quit to. Because sometimes when I put new content and people are like, you don't teach lessons anymore. Even though there's like 5 lessons like scheduled out.
Yeah.
So those will be some new stuff coming along. I think that will be fun. And pass it on when you see the concerned citizens. I'm going to come on the edge here. So sometimes I can go on the edge. And I'm hoping that you like that. It might be nice, like we could end up having like a little playlist, which you guys know we have wanted to do forever, of beautiful art with music. So maybe that'll be cool. We're just trying to embrace the reality. What do y'all think? Tell me what you think in the comments.
They're enjoying this.
I know they like this.
Do you?
Yes.
Can you read the comments? I
no,
can read them.
but I've met them, and I know they like landscapes.
They do.
They like them a lot. And flowers. All right. So see, this is a very nice raw little edge, isn't it? That's pretty terrific. Of course, you know, we've got lots of little different types of plants and things on the side here that we've got to paint about. I'll get one of my detail brushes. You could use, this is also good. We can do some of this. Let's call this this was kind of involved and we did it for a minute. You want to call it a step? That way we know what's happening before we get the next layer on. You got to get the dark layer to make the light layer work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really do.
We can do that.
You can do it.
It's the 9th step.
A little bit of the light green coming on. Get some different little light green colors happening. Definitely using our yellow. You know what I realized?
I do not know what you realized.
I realized that I want some I really like some of these sort of detailed out plants. So I'm going to do some of them.
Oh. That I would not have expected.
I'm just using the tip of the brush and kind of building the contrast and the shape of the plant.
Yeah.
I know a lot of it will get built once the highlight's there, but you got to give it the shadow. Otherwise, you don't really have anything. Okay, so we'll get some of those interesting little fern-like wild grasses afoot. That's nice, isn't it? Those look like really great little seedlings or zerglings. Little very light green. I'm just adding a much lighter green on top. And the contrast of these, and then you got to bring it down into where we're going to have the grasses. See how we're bringing these little bushes down into there? That's an important part. So now we've got some of those interesting plant shapes that we like so much. Now I can come in and be like, all right, let's get some burnt sienna and some phthalo green and then a little of our cad yellow into that, just as a start. We don't want to take out our deep color. Very important not to. I'm just using the comb. Nice little beginnings of some plants and some thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of red and yellow, but there's some green in it, so it goes kind of not too bright. Taking that very fine brush and let's add some of these little fun colors.
Yeah.
Bring in some water over here to thin it so it's nice and thin.
That allows you to get those highlights. Those delicate, delicate highlights, huh?
Yeah, and we need some of those on here so it feels like what it is, which is late summer grass, beginning of fall, which is the actual time of year we're in. In some part of it, in North America, many parts of North America.
In the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere has a whole different set of seasons happening.
Right now. I think they're in spring, right?
The earth tilted.
It does that, doesn't it?
It wobbles.
Let's just, give some detailed little grasses, huh? Just adding those little detailed grasses. We just take our time. We know what we want to do. We know what we're painting. We're painting a landscape. Sometimes I'll go in and get some just bright, they look green. You can start going through and playing with the greens. As you're painting, you can't get it wrong. And all you're going to do is fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
If you get too much going there, you just come back with some dark grass. So you're not having trouble with that. And then one of the wonderful things is here, I'm going to take some, maybe some little white onto my brush, and you can be like,
ooh.
Maybe there's some little white flowers, right? They happen. Let's put them some places, shall we?
Is that a liner?
Still just using that liner brush.
Okay.
Still just using the liner. I like to kind of distribute my wildflowers like, a little more. Like I won't do like one really intense cluster and then nowhere else. I think it's important to say, well, a few of them could be here and there.
The flowers.
Maybe a few of them I added some blue. Well, some of these white ones might be a little bit in shadow, so you just add a little shadow to it. Doesn't hurt. Oh goodness, we've got some maybe pink flowers that we might have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes pink happens. There's really only one here, but I say that we maybe let those be more than just one location.
Oh, well, I hope, Cheryl, you're doing well and on the mend.
Is Cheryl okay?
Uh, or maybe one of her loved ones.
Mm.
I'm not sure. She's been out for a little while and just coming in, saying hello to everyone, catching everyone up.
Hello. Everyone is missed. I missed everybody.
It's nice to see our community all hanging out here.
So we've added some little pinks to that, haven't we? We've said, oh, there's some little pink flowers in here, and you can always like be like, oh, there's some little pink and yellow and white. Right? We can. Just because it's small doesn't mean we can't shade it or think about it some. Oh, there's so okay. So this is so funny, guys.
What's that?
There's this pink dot, and I keep trying to shade it, but it's not shading. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I move the canvas and realized it splatters on my screen. I'm like, this is not working. It is not what we want. I'm going to add a little red, semi-yellow. It's bright, but it's not, full CAD. Now it's kind of like these like late summer flowers, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They're fun. Maybe a little grouping of them together there. No, they grow lots of places, and we just want them to be happy that way. Happy little flowers on a happy little planet, doing well. All right, look at that. It's just starting to be like a very cheerful, happy. Pulling a little of that, maybe just a smidge of brown. Some white for some very dry grass. And you just sort of let that layer over because that last layer really
That really looks cool.
pulls it over.
Whoop. There we go.
There we go. Look at us go.
Looking fantastic. Now, is this a beginner painting?
It was so funny because the mods were like, what's the hoot today? And I'm like, we'll see how I feel.
So what's a hoot and why do we give
A hoot is a difficulty. So one hoot would be like, I haven't painted since grade school and I have no idea what any of the words mean. One hoot.
What's a hoot?
And hoot is a level of difficulty because it's a hoot. It's not hard. It's a hoot.
Just a hoot.
2 hoots is like, you've been painting with me for minutes, you know some of the terms, but you're still really like learning the concepts and skills and you're building up your art skill box. 3 hoots is that you are ready to have more complicated projects broken down and explained. You're not painting totally on your own yet, but you have like most of the tools and paints and things that we're using and are familiar with and moderately confident in most of the skills, if that makes sense. It's that last little bit. So I don't believe you go from beginner to intermediate. I believe there are 3 stages of beginner painting, and it takes to go from not painting at all to being in an intermediate level. I think takes about 100 paintings. Is what I actually think.
Are we wholly hooted, or can you have a hoot and a half?
You can have a hoot and a half.
Okay.
You can absolutely have a hoot and a half. I really feel like we kind of found our way through here, so I'm going to sign it, John.
All right. That seems like you found the You found the painting in the canvas. It was there all along. We just didn't
there
see
all
it.
along. Oh, I don't like that part of my signature
What
at
you
all.
do? You just
I erased.
Just-
Sometimes, you're doing your signature and you're like, man, I don't like that at all. This brush does not do an R well.
Which brush is that?
This is the Ultra Round.
The Ultra Round doesn't do R's.
It doesn't do R's. I don't like its R's. What it is it doesn't do a sharp curve.
It's not a pirate. It can't go R.
I had to put the P back. All right, guys. That is landscape that we just did on a Tuesday. Who doesn't want a landscape on a Tuesday? And this is a beautiful landscape. One you can be really proud of. And we got into some skies and we did them a different way. So I will always try to explain clouds or techniques or different things differently to you so that I never know when it's going to click, right? When it's going to work for you where you're like, oh, I see it. So that's why when you paint with me, I might explain it 5 or 6 different ways because somewhere along the way, something's going to click and you're going to get it and then you can do it. I hope you really enjoyed this. Boy, I used a lot of things. I don't think you needed to use all these brushes. I think I was just going through my brush things.
You were brush
I hope
happy.
you enjoyed this late summer painting. Yeah. This is a nice late summer. I want you to be good to yourselves, good to each other. And I'll see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.